There we go. Did a little pop-up come up on your screen, Tom? Perfect. Excellent. Good. So we'll just give everybody a couple minutes, and and I mean, I'm including you, Tom, in this. I'm speaking for you, but we appreciate so much that we had such a great response to what I'm going to say right up front was your idea, Tom. Whoop, whoop, Tom.
The
Yeah.
old guy.
Well, I wasn't going to say that, but since you mentioned it, absolutely. So I don't know how many people are going to join us today because it is our first weekly check-in, but I think what we were hoping is number one, we could introduce ourselves to everybody, and it is like it'll still be on Facebook. So if you don't listen to it live or watch us live, that's no problem at all. But we were hoping to introduce ourselves, just let you know what we're all about, and then get a little bit of insight. And again, after today, feel free to use the chat. We'd like to know what kind of topics you want to talk about and all sorts of stuff. Like it's Tom and I's workshop or whatever, our weekly meeting, but it's for you and it's for us. And at the end of the day, we're all equal humans, right? So I think we all the dynamics might be different, but struggling with things that you can't change is a real thing for everybody. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah. First of all, it looks like there's 4 people watching: Cindy, Florence, Angela, and Kelly. So
Yay!
if you're watching, Michelle and I, again, we're trying to figure out partnering Zoom with Facebook.
Mhm.
I believe Michelle's or our intent is to figure out the technical part, but then have a YouTube page that we can send people that maybe aren't in social media. So
That's
my
right.
name's Tom. I'm Michelle's older brother. I'm in my early 60s and she's still in her early 50s or mid 50s.
50s. What? Okay.
Get
True
out of here.
story. Carry on.
Um,
We'll
but
say I am.
Yeah, and so the purpose of doing this, so Michelle, for those that know Michelle, and those that know me, in our different parts of Canada, I'm in the West Coast, she's in the East Coast. Um, During our journey of life, the ups and downs of life, we've we've seemed to, like, all the experience we have leads us to this, which is trying to help people. That's kind of our heart and passion. And so you'll hear a little bit more about me and about Michelle, and you will hear just a bit about us personally. We'll save some back. We'll share some later, but hear about why this was important to start now. So first of all, the introduction is, whether we acknowledge it or not, we live in a time that our mental wellness is um, is battling to some degree. It may not be heavy battling. It could just be the day-to-day stress. It could be finances. It could be personal. It could be medical. Like all these things, right? And we're seeing more and more in the news that more and more we need mental health support. So that's Michelle's and I, as hard as to have this closed community be a support
Yeah.
for all of us. And a couple of the rules to set them down is that we want to be a safe community,
Yeah.
and being a safe community, we some people have shared stuff already, have been great. We don't want this to have politics, in the sense of, we may have different convictions and stuff like that. That's okay, but it's really, as we go on, we want to be safe, that people can be vulnerable, but we don't want, we're not trying to fix it. We were trying to learn as we journey together, right, Michelle?
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. So part of it is we're on a journey together. You'll hear again some more of Michelle's and our journey and different things that we've experienced or done. And we both have some experience in this field, learning every day. But thank you for joining us. And I thought, and Michelle and I both, we've done a few interviews before together, which has been fun.
Yeah.
Michelle, why don't you share a bit about you and whatever you want to share?
Okay. So happy to be here. Anybody who knows me, that's my passion, is to help people. And it's also, let me see. So yeah, it's just sort of my thing, no matter what it is. So one of the things that I do for employment is I'm a wellness coach. So we focus on food, activity, sleep, mindset as part of my career that I've been doing for the last 10 years. But then outside of that, just, and again, for anybody who knows me that's in the different groups that I have, knows that I'm all about like meditation and clean eating and just not, and just being positive and the law of attraction. So not denying that negative things happen, but figuring out strategies to get through them, right? Especially right now. I mean, and I think that's why this is such a great timing for Tom and I to pull this together, because people are, whether it's economically, emotionally, we went through the longest 2 weeks ever, or after the last 4 years. So all of those things, how do we get through that and deal with, regular struggles, never mind other struggles. And then, of course, we both bring to the table life experience, right? So even though we were siblings, we weren't raised together. So it's interesting. I was thinking today, all the things that we have in common versus the things that we are separate. And I think it's such a great part of us, of what we bring to the table, right? For sharing over the next weeks and years and whoever, like we are here for the community. So as long as, we're having our weekly checkups and we're, you're responding and we're helping each other. I also need some help. So, and I'm sure Tom does too. So there's, a self-fulfilling part of that as well. So as long as we're feeling there's a need, we're going to continue to step in and help. And if I know that one little thing that can support even Tom or anybody, that's what I'm all about. And that's what we have in common, you and I.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I was thinking today, Michelle and I, when we were talking about this yesterday about going live, and she said one thing she does in some of her other channels is she tries to have like a quote or kind of a finishing statement, right? And one, I didn't invent this, by the way, but one of the thoughts I had was the good and bad, but everything we've been through in our life has led us to today.
That's right.
Now, if somebody's passed away, they're on the next part of the journey, whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
But we are we are we're not defined by the trauma and the challenges and the things that happen to us mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually,
Yeah.
financially. We can let those things define us, but we're truly not defined by that. We're defined that we are wonderfully created. It's if you're into like biology, go just just go and look a little bit of how we're made up, like
Mhm.
forgetting of our whole body, how it works, just our mind, like the way our mind, like my son is 17, getting ready for university. He's into engineering and stuff like this, but he'll tell me, he goes, "Oh, Dad, your synapses does this and that." Like I go, like, "Oh my word! Like how does he know this?" And then I go look it up.
Yeah.
But so we want everybody to know, no matter what we're going through, we're wonderfully made, and when we can journey together, and sometimes family's important, friends are important, but sometimes we need more. We need kind of that outside um,
Absolutely.
different voice. And so that's what our goal is. And the power of story for me, for all of us, I'm learning more and more. I'm 63 this year, I guess, 63, Michelle. But I know I'm old. Um, I'll need a walker and a cane soon.
I'll buy you.
But we, just the journey that we've been on separate, but the way it kind of coexist in some ways. The power of our story and the power of story, the power of listening to story, is probably one of the greatest things we have in our humanity.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of brutal stuff if you look through history. A lot of
Yeah.
I don't know why people have been mean to people as long as we have,
Mhm.
but we have the power to be kind and merciful and understanding and like all these things. We have the ability, no matter what we've been through. So that's a journey we're going to go through here. As Michelle shared about her bit of wellness, um, I work in the food industry. I work for a coffee company, which is great. So I basically get paid to drink coffee and talk to people, which is a really good job, by the way. But I love people. I love hearing their stories. And part of my journey, you'll hear a bit later, I've had the ability to learn more and more about trauma and depression and anxiety, PTSD, and these cognitive behavior therapy, these things that that we have to work through. So I actually love it, and it's sad because we can be stuck, but there's so much richness in it. So again, what we hope to do is go through that with you guys. Feel free to invite friends if there's people you think that will benefit from being a part of this group.
Please.
Um, I think you can invite them as a member, but I don't know if admin has to accept it, approve it. But we're going to figure that stuff out. And also the videos. This one's our our test in a way, but with videos. Feel free to share them. Like, I don't know how, I don't think you can share them here, but especially on YouTube, feel like,
Yeah, the YouTube, absolutely.
yeah, we want to help people. So
That's right. Hey, this is our Virgin Voyage. How exciting.
there's 17 jokes I could say, but I'll leave it alone.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, and it's interesting because like the similarities, that we all have in our journeys, and it's a matter of perspective, right? We've all gone through trials and tribulations. Yours haven't been the same as mine, who haven't been the same as Florence and Tracy, and everybody, we all have different journeys. And it's when I do my wellness coaching, I quite often refer to it as we are our own research and development departments. So we always have to learn, right? And learn and grow. So I think that's where the part is that we're in it together, but accepting that, I always try to look for a positive. And sometimes the positive is it was an experience I'm going to look back at later. And then hindsight is 2020, right? Later I can look back and either try to see what the lesson was, or sometimes it's just me looking back, realizing I was the common denominator. I was the problem. That it happens sometimes, and then I have to grow or I'm going to continue to be the problem, right?
yeah, I think it's interesting you're saying that, Michelle. I think, especially Western culture, we're we're inundated to think of ourselves and the good and bad of that. Like, we want to be responsible people, tough right now just buying groceries and gas type
Yeah.
thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
People, the financial burden of stress and everything to do with health, and like we've been overwhelmed, technology just overwhelmed, where we want to crawl in a hole and close the blinds. Or what I do sometimes is I just PVR shows. I just want to be in front of the TV.
Yeah.
And there's good and bad. There's good and bad in that. That can be a real not dealing with issues, right? But our hope is, and we've learned as as we journey together, um, there's, like Michelle said, we'll learn things from each other, right? Um, the this the idea of being able to look back. I had a picture. I get these weird dreams once in a while, and I had this picture that I was climbing a mountain. I'm a big boy. I don't like climbing mountains. My wife climbs mountains, and in this dream, I was climbing this mountain, and I was just focused on climbing it. I didn't want to look down. I don't like heights. And then I hit a plateau, and when I looked back, um, I was able to, from that vantage point, I was able to have a different perspective of in the moment of that struggle, right?
Yeah.
And people that I work with that deal with social anxiety or depression. I have a group that I work with depression, and I do some support with people walking through that. Depression is such a brutal thing, and the stigmas of feeling guilty,
Yeah.
and like you can ask any questions, you can respond to anything, by the way, but I'm not going to try to ever separate men and women. A couple times I will. So this is one of the times. And one of the times is, I think it's easier for men to be have this pride issue more so than women. Women can have it too,
Yeah.
and we don't like to look weak and vulnerable. So the guys that I work with that I counsel, they're like, there's so much shame and guilt. And
Yeah,
again, it could be the same for like for women. So it's not a sex thing,
right.
but there seems to be this thing of like men aren't supposed to be emotional. Men are, just suck it up
Well,
and
it's the
so
way they're raised, right? It's and so much, I totally agree. And so much of who we are as adults is from those first, 7 to 14 years of our life and whatever your surroundings, your environment, and your influences were.
yeah. And culturally too, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
we live in a world like I'm gonna for those that know Michelle, you'll know the story, but years ago, Michelle, you can throw in details. Years ago, Michelle and who she is as a person decided she wanted to drive across Canada with her daughter. How long ago was that, Michelle?
2015.
Oh, so long, like not that long, but long, right?
Yeah.
So Michelle, you know, just had this kind of idea. I'm going to do this, and all I'm going to do was it called Hugs Across
Yeah,
Canada?
free hugs across Canada.
Yeah, and as simplistic as that is, so Michelle, the cost of her like taking time off work and doing this and all that, and she was seeing us at the end, but it wasn't about seeing us. It was
Right,
about, hey, I'm going to do this. Oh, and kind of the caveat is I could see my siblings.
right,
Um, and people who believed in Michelle supported her, like opportunities. Michelle did like all these things. And so the sacrifice that she made to show kindness to people, like, is such a powerful thing. We hear stories about it, which is good. Like there's people out doing it, but in our Western culture, we get so tied up within ourselves, and even with us, if we're struggling with some mental health issues, we feel like I can't give out until I get my crap together,
right.
and it's not true. Like you can be wrestling through whatever, and we'll go through over the next weeks and months and years. There's just things that we've learned that help us. Not that we're still not prone to, say, depression,
Oh, for sure.
but we recognize it.
That's
And
right.
so Michelle going across the country, one of the stories that even my wife and daughter were talking about the other day is she was at our place, stayed at our place for a bit, a couple days, whatever it was. And when she left, she had sneakily put notes in the dishes and different things, right? And the notes were all positive. Like they were so, and I don't know Michelle knows this. So my wife found one of the notes she found was like almost a year later.
Wow.
So the funny thing is, you go, oh well, weren't we wherever the note was? Were we not using that? It could have been like the seventh place, or I don't remember, right? But the power of being able to help encourage, support, show kindness, um, no matter what we're going through on any level, we have the ability. And if you're struggling with, say, with depression, is like you want to curl up, and social anxiety, you want to curl up in a ball, and you really want to avoid people, right? And we're like that's the journey of it. But I know people going through that, and then all of a sudden they'll go through Timmy's, and everybody does this, and they'll go, okay, I can't do a whole lot. I don't want to see people, but I'm going to buy the person behind me a
I,
coffee.
I love that.
And the power in that, this is, I think, Michelle's journey, the power in giving out when you feel like I don't have a whole lot. Like Michelle didn't feel like she had a lot. She made it
I didn't. I
home.
slept in the car.
Yeah, she like had enough. She had enough gas to get home with like maybe a quarter of a tank, maybe.
That's about right.
But but part of our goal too is as we share stories and you guys ask questions and we hear some of your stories, um, that'll probably one of the things that we'll go back to is in the midst of feeling like you have nothing to give,
Yeah.
we're going to tell you have something to give, and sometimes it's only yourself.
Sometimes
Like
it's a
serious,
smile. It's opening the door for somebody
yeah,
and you don't know, but they needed a smile to carry on. Like it's so the synchronicities are just so intense. And we gave a lot that week, Nicole and I, her somewhat kicking and screaming, but it was fine. Um, But the full circle that came out of it, like the contacts, the people we uplifted, the people that then blessed us where we weren't expecting it. And then that was the same year I got involved with Weight Watchers and becoming a coach. So, and I'd done motivational speaking, but nothing to that level. And we know I'm not into running. So activity is not my strong point. I'm actually in the fitness protection program. But but at the same time, it's, exactly what you said. When you just feel so disconnected, there's no better time to, even if it's one of the things that I like to do every randomly, and I don't know if, because I do it to you every once in a while, is I'll just send a positive text to whoever. I do it to Teresa for sure. And if I had $1 for everybody that said, wow, I really needed to hear that or whatever, I would be a rich woman.
Yeah, and the other thing too, and again, as we journey together. So first of all, we don't feel like we know it all. We feel as we
We
journey
don't.
together, we're
Yep.
going to learn together, and it may be a baby step here, a baby step there,
Yep.
and that's why we're doing this. But one of the things, and we're going to share some information as we go.
Yep.
But I was reading something about was a psychologist talking about contagious things. It wasn't talking about diseases, by the way,
Mm.
but it
Right.
was talking about, and some of us maybe like older people know this in school, that if you can start something, the good and bad, right?
Yep.
Remember the game Telephone, which
Mhm.
was you whisper in your ear. But I remember I grew up in Toronto, born in Ottawa, but grew up in Toronto, went to school, and my it was a teacher that taught media. It was like drama and he had us do something. He was a Tibetan monk, so he was like so interesting, so cool, right? But he said, "I want you to do this," and we did the negative, which maybe looking back wasn't good. But he goes, "I want you," and he picked four of us. He says, "Throughout the day, I want you guys to find the same students, and to one student, the girl." Was just say, "Oh, you look wonderful. You must be feeling really great." Positive reinforcement, right?
Yep.
And to the other one, it was a guy, it was a good friend of mine. So, he says, we would go up and say, "Hey, how are you doing? Are you feeling okay? Are you?" And then somebody else go, "Oh, are you feeling okay?"
Yep.
So this power of suggestion
Yes.
is, and I know it's hard to get there when we're feeling like we're overwhelmed by whatever we're working through. But see, the reason we're doing this, not that we crossed the Alps, but we've learned through our journey how to be acutely aware of us being well and then how we can transfer that. So contagious in a good way.
That's right.
Hashtag contagious. There we go.
Found.
Health contagious. But
That's right.
so Michelle, tell us something else for people to watch it later that know me but don't know you. Tell us a little bit of anything you want to tell us.
Um, so, well, that's a loaded question. Do you know who I am?
Yeah, you're my sister. Tell them a bit. Tell them a bit about our early childhood.
Us? Okay. So, yeah, I think that's important. So, it's interesting as you're talking. So, Tom and I are very, very similar and very, very different. So, we are two of seven siblings. Tom is the oldest. I'm the youngest girl. There is seven children in, I believe, 9 years. And myself and three others were put up for adoption. And I was trying to think today. So I went through Children's Aid when I was 18 and pregnant. I went through Children's Aid actually to get the history of my birth mom to find out, if there's anything I needed to know. And then they offered me to get my official transcripts. I got that, and then I found out I had six brothers and sisters. And honestly, for that reason and that reason alone, I pursued the family, and now you're stuck with me. So it was funny. So earlier today, I was thinking about when we met. What year do you think that was? Ish. Late 90s? I think I was Was
So
I?
were you talking about when you met me at the airport and I called you
Yeah,
Tina?
yeah, we should share that story, Tom. Mm,
We'll try not to have inside stories. We eventually all over, I think it was 40 years later, were able to connect. That's a whole different story.
yeah,
And being like being raised in a family where there was separation and trauma and abuse and neglect. And even though, like, I always feel bad for my mom, who's not a part of this group, so I'll talk about her. But
thank you.
because here's a young woman having babies, like Michelle said, for her,
Yeah.
who back in that time, we're talking in the 60s, I was born in 61, the world was so different. Oh, by the way, there's no computers and cell phones for some of you.
Yeah.
But
And apparently birth control.
yeah, and so the way you navigated through trauma
Yep.
is very different. We have so much more information. So here's my mom. I think she was 25 or 26, and she had 7 kids.
Yeah. Right.
And that in itself, and then in a dysfunctional, relationship. And so like Michelle said, we ended up all kind of being put in care. And my mom was able, after whatever period of time, to get the three oldest back. But that, with me, Michelle, that difference of journey, and Michelle had adopted family, and if they were better or not, and all that. So that's a whole different thing. But you think of the trauma, or I wrote down one of our topics will be disappointment and how to navigate through that. We don't have the tools emotionally or mentally or even informationally now back then. So how do you deal with trauma? I was, and again, parts of the story come out later, in my early teens, and I was dealing with lots of stuff. I ended up being a drug user and drug dealer, and I actually spent time in jail, in prison actually, and not knowing how to manage through my trauma and pain. I didn't know how to deal with it. So one of the benefits now, and then Michelle has her journey, and we've been through. I'm a cancer survivor, and so we understand more now, and there's more information now, which is so good
Absolutely.
on kind of seeing these things, but understanding them. So we, in a way, have more tools. Which,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead. You were going to say something. I saw your thought.
Did you see it come out of my head? I
I
think
did.
as well, like as you mature, right? And just like I totally acknowledge I struggle with some abandonment issues. So I have stuff, but I'm aware of it. So I'm always working on that and just different things. And so this is sort of to circle back. This is why I'm so excited to do this with you personally, because so we did two family reunions over like my whole life with every like all the children. One was just in May. But for you and I, Tom, we've met mm, well, uh, over, I don't know, quite a few times over like the last 20 years or whatever. So we've met face to face, we've communicated, but we're probably holiday communicators, which is not a bad thing. I'm just saying, or every 6 months we'll have like a real good connect, and then we break, we go back to life, and then we come back. So I find it interesting on so many levels doing this because I'm going to get to know you, you're going to get to know me, and then what we bring to the table. And there's no like the ways we were raised were different but equal, because you know what I mean, like so nothing like there were just different journeys, but were results of that. So I just think I'm just so super excited about this, and I'm super excited to hear some of the sharing that you do, and even the influence that you give, because that's a part of you. Like when we met in May, it was like we had 3 days, all these other people. It's been, I think, our first visit when, oh, I don't know, you didn't know who I was. That's right. So that visit, that's when we went on tour and we met a bunch of family, and we actually were together, like just you and me, raw, right?
Yeah.
So that was really good. So I'm excited. to do that with you, because with not Roxanne, but like with my sister Tina, I've had that over the years. Tammy, I've had it, even Jimmy a bit. So it's nice for me to just sort of have our own relationship, even in this forum.
So, so again, part of, and we all know this, we start sharing and talking. We're just trying to be casual or not like
Yeah.
trying to pretend we're not. And then sometimes we'll do, like, we'll say something, and then I don't know if you're like this, Michelle, but all of a sudden I go, oh, these people don't know. So
Yeah.
again, my name's Tom. I'm the oldest. The next oldest is Tammy,
Yep.
and Timmy,
Yep.
and Tina. So parents didn't know there was other letters in the alphabet beside T.
Apparently.
Then there was
Roxanne, who is
Roxanne,
actually Terry, wasn't she?
Tracy,
Oh,
Tracy,
Tracy,
yeah.
another T. Yep.
Then Michelle,
Which I wasn't a Michelle, I was a Laura Lee. And
and
then,
then
yep, my
Jimmy.
parents changed my name. And then, yeah, Jimmy and Roxanne. And like we're all just so close together because Roxanne and I think, are 16 months apart. And then Jimmy and I also. So we're very, just such a fascinating story, right? Like
And
just the statistics of it all.
and in it, like Michelle shared, like, and I'm pretty sure I wrote one of our topics. So if you see me looking down, I'm not looking at my phone. My phone's here to see what's happening in the chat, but
We
I'm
don't
making
judge.
notes. So I've become this note dude. So because we're starting off, there's things that will be said will trigger something. So I wrote dysfunctional family. And so, or actually, I want to take dysfunctional and put awkward. I think that's a better word.
There you
And
go.
so like Michelle said, in this separation and distance, we get together, and Michelle shared, like, for her, not that was nothing against her biological mom, but you have to walk through
That's right.
abandonment and rejection, like that, like that's like to say you're not dealing with that. I would be nice, but I would believe in 99.9% that you're in denial. There's
Right.
something, there has to something happen to our psyche, right? So we, when we first got together all together as family, was at Sun Peaks,
In
a
BC.
ski resort. And it was
Yep.
the first time all the siblings were together with my mom and a couple other family members. And we laughed and had fun and silly, but there was almost this nervous laughter. Not that it was bad,
Mhm.
but there, it's almost like, we start a new job and you're kind of meeting, there's just a little bit of an awkwardness, which is okay. Like, that's fine, right?
For sure.
But the advantage Michelle and I have, and the other siblings too, to some degree, because even though I was somewhat raised with my brother Tim and Tammy, but it wasn't a long time. I was gone, whatever, right? But if we choose to, I believe you can start on a clean slate. And the nice thing with siblings is you, it's easy to look at. It wasn't my. I'll use me and Michelle. It'd be easy for Michelle to look at, well, it wasn't Tom's decision, it wasn't his fault, or
Right.
vice versa in the
Yeah.
sibling thing. And that gives you that level playing field, right? Where, and even now, like, we've learned through 20 some years of reconnecting, that we live in separate worlds. We have different lives, and as much as we love each other, which we do, um, there is that bond. I believe there's a real special bond with siblings,
Oh,
and
I
there's
do too. Yep.
and there's less baggage to sift through. Like, there's lots of stories, lots of stuff you can read about that. But I think we have to give each other permission. Michelle said it so well earlier, that we don't we it's easier not to hold each other to a certain standard that you may a parent, like, obviously, or a spouse.
Yep.
So out of distance, not that we would have been back, I would have, it would have been fun to live all together and destroy the house and whatever we would have done. But I'm not, I'm always thankful for the journey I've been on,
Yeah.
even the real hard stuff. Like, I'm okay with it, right?
That's
Because
right.
I'm here today. I'm breathing. I'm talking to you guys. I'm talking to my sister, right?
Yep.
But we'll, like I said, we'll go through a lot of different content. Like, we're gonna have topics. We're just starting this journey. But if you have thoughts or ideas or things you want us to talk about, like, feel free to message us, um,
Yes, or post right on the page.
post on the page.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so because we have certain things, we'll talk about one or two things every week. We have different things in mind, whether, whatever, everything is journey related. But if you have something specific that's going on or something, hey, I watched a really good Brené Brown video. What'd you think on it? Or you know what I mean? Whatever. And we could look and or an article or something, or if you have a quote, like I don't mean you, Tom, like in the group that you want to share, then just share it with us. I mean, we really want to focus on us as a sense of community.
Yeah. And in that, like, so, and like, I'm smart enough, and Michelle too, we've been involved in different groups. It's that I belong to a really good group on depression. That's a global group, mostly North America, but it's global, and it's not on a social media platform. It's via email, and then whatever. I'm not a tech guy, so whatever, however we manage that. And it's been really healthy for me. That I've been on it for several years, and excuse me, and on it, because I've been involved with it for so long, and I'm just a member. I'm special because I'm me, but I'm not like a hierarchy in this. And there's some people that don't share anything; they just
Yep.
read, listen,
Yep.
and that's okay. That's
Yes.
where they're at now.
That's
Some of the guys that I counsel, like I don't with them try to fix them tomorrow. Even though I was telling Michelle the other day, like the work that I do, I'm a manager and I'm a problem solver. I want to solve a problem. That's what I do. I've learned in this journey with people, um, some of these things, majority of the time, they'll get solved in a day.
that's right.
And it could be two steps ahead, one step back. But it's this. There's a picture. I don't remember where it was. It was. I don't think it was Buddha or something like that. But there was a picture of an older man sitting on a mountain with a younger man, and the older man goes like, "I'll sit with you until you're ready." And it was this like learning to laugh together, learning to go through grief together. Um, we're being vulnerable with that, and it's hard for some people aren't there yet, but it's hard for people. Um, um, like Michelle, maybe not today, but she can share a little bit later. A couple of years ago, working through grief of you with finding out about biological parents that weren't
Oh,
around,
yep.
because your friends probably know about that, right?
Some of them. Yep.
Well, see, I told Michelle. Sorry, she can throw in. So Michelle is pretty not personal on her other platforms. She's like very like mature. We were talking about this yesterday. Going, we're going to be a little bit more.
What?
We're going to
Depends
be a
on.
little bit
Yeah,
personal,
we are.
vulnerable, right?
That's exact. Yeah, and so it's interesting. It's so funny you say that because on my personal Facebook, yeah, I'm all about positivity, positive power, all about positivity. But with my groups, my and I just coached my group before I came here, and with them, they know a lot about my dynamics, my history, and so you'll find that I'm very authentic and true. And I am face to face. I just don't put a lot of that on my personal Facebook because it conflicts with my mission to, uplift everybody in the world. But when it comes to this, yeah, honest and true, and you get what you get. And I am me, 100% me. I wouldn't know who else to be.
So in saying that, um, this group will stay private.
Yep.
Only people who come will be people that are invited through you guys or us.
Yeah.
Um, and we're not looking at policing. We want people to feel
We
somebody may
don't.
share something that doesn't resonate with me or doesn't matter. But some of the people already have shared some really wonderful things. That's good because somebody may share something that for the first 9 people, it's like, oh, whatever. And then the 10th person, it's like, oh, I needed to see that or hear that. And like one of the things I've learned in life, um, I'm more lucky in my communication than I realize because I'll have a great speech or teach or whatever I'm doing, and the stuff that I think is good is rubbish, usually. That's why I'm trying to be smart. But then people will get back to me and they'll say, "Oh, well, you know, that when you said that, I resonated with that." And usually it's when we're being honest and transparent.
Yep.
So I want to give another side story to Michelle. So Michelle in 2015, Michelle?
Yep.
Yeah, so she was like 13 or 14, however old, no, whatever.
Something like that.
Yeah. So Michelle feels inspired and she puts into place this trip across the country, convinces her daughter to come.
Mhm.
I don't know if she bribed her or not, but anyway, it's good to see both of them. And then we are in 2024, so 2021. So in this midst of COVID, I have a dream.
Yeah.
I have a dream, and in my dream, I'm going across the country, driving across the country by myself, and I'm interviewing Indigenous people. And what triggered the dream for me, and I'll use the word trigger is good and bad, by the way, just so, but what triggered this dream was where I live in BC. There was a place called Kamloops where they uncovered almost 300 bodies from a residential school. And so for me, that became this triggering. I do some work with Indigenous men working through addiction and stuff like that. So I had this dream. It's like, you know, I've got some holidays. I'm going to drive across the country. And then the dream shifted a little bit. And again, everything was shut down pretty much. Some hotels weren't that. And I just felt like I just want to go for it. That's like Michelle. I just want to do it. So this is like 6 years after you, which is funny. I never thought of that before. And so as I drove across Canada, which is long and beautiful, I had 14 days to go basically to Ottawa and back. So I drove like 12 hours a day, had one weekend off. And I interviewed Michelle on it. I did a thing called Stories Across Canada. I'm not even sure if it's around wherever, but anyway, it doesn't matter. And when I got home and I could reflect, from it sounds selfish, but that trip was more, as much as I was giving and listening and stuff, there was something about that trip for me being alone in my car.
Yeah.
Half the time not having any channels to listen to, or but driving and being in a bubble from nature, but being there by myself. I can't even explain it. It was very surreal. So for me, when I came back, that sacrifice was, you know, I paid my own way and stuff like that. But it was such a, like, it was so powerful. And it actually has led me to why I'm doing what we're doing, right?
Right.
And I want to encourage you. I believe with my whole heart that through our limps and pains and struggles, whatever they are, physical, mental, emotional, financial, we all have journeys to complete. Like we just have them.
Mhm.
And sometimes we feel like we wasted our life away. And like, I don't know, it's so easy to feel down. So again, what we want to do, using my sister again, she's going to bring real stories about her life and how she's navigated through stuff. She's going to encourage you, as I will, to say, you know what, you got this. We can get through this together. If we don't
And you
have the
got
tools,
pom-poms. Woo,
yeah,
woo,
she has
woo.
pom poms. I have tons of resources to help you. I just found another resource. I have it on my phone, but we'll share. I don't know how we'll do it. We'll figure out maybe a note, something like that, but we'll have, we'll just have, like, we want to learn together, but we want to share. It's like a potluck, and somebody brings the potatoes and the ham and dessert and stuff. We're all better in community, even across the country like this. As we invest into each other, we're better.
That's
Our street is better. Our family's better. Our community's better. Our city's better. Our country's better. Our world is better. And yes, Missy, I am her brother, her eldest brother.
Haha, I knew she was going to call you out. Haha, Missy, welcome. Glad you are here. That is so awesome. And it's so true, right? And it's fine. So going back to the vulnerability and that this is a safe place. So Tom and I's focus is on this group, but we are recording us, but not you, like not Missy and Florence and everybody. So like we might say, oh, I see Missy said whatever, But this content, just for anybody else that's interested outside of the group, will be on YouTube. So Tom, just so you know, talking about vulnerability, it will be available to the whole world. Unless you don't want it to be, then we don't have to do that part. That's totally up to you. But I'm okay because I share with lots of people, whatever, it's fine.
So part of creating safe places is
Hmm.
people that feel safe, obviously, right? And so the video that we're sharing now is Michelle and I talking. There could be 1,000 Bobs or Robs
But
or
that's what I mean. That's right.
yeah. So we want you to understand that, and we would encourage this with the people in this group, is that this group needs to stick to this group. And if some of you know each other, uh, like sometimes we want to share a story, the inspirational story that we heard. Like I would ask, like it's just important to ask people, like, hey, or you could share the story without a name. So those are ways. Like when I do counseling, that's the way I do that. I say, well, because I use story as power, right? So our goal is we're not going to try to take down Joe Rogan as a podcast master,
Yeah, okay.
but we, you know what? I'm confident with our influence, but it's not about 10,000 or 1,000 or 100 or 10. It's about the one.
Quality, that's right.
And I want to encourage the group that we've started with.
Yeah,
Um, you're going to find out through some of you might be in groups like this or different things like this. Um, you will inspire somebody. You will just by listening or encouragement.
yeah,
It's it, Me and Michelle are kind of riding the bus with you,
yes.
but there's more in the bus. We're hoping to do some get some people involved. Well, this is I said to Michelle yesterday. I want to get some people involved where we interview people down the road.
Yeah.
I was teasing Michelle yesterday. I'd love to get Howie Mandel, mental health
Yeah,
Canadian, without paying him, by the way.
of course,
But
that's right.
but part of it, our focus is on wellness. It's focusing on mental wellness, which can branch into many different
Yeah,
roads. And we're really going to. We don't have this big plan. We have some thoughts and ideas of where we're going to go, but it's going to be basically what we feel at the beginning, but as we grow, what you feel. And if, like Michelle said, if somebody goes, hey, can we talk about social anxiety? My son, I think said to Michelle, my son shared with me the other day about neurodivergence, which is he's kind of on somewhere in the Asperger's scale, but he's a smart kid, like 90 and 95 in science and math, but these kind of ambient questions like how do you feel, like he freezes. So did you go look that up yet, Michelle?
no, I'm going to.
Yeah.
It's on
So
my
learning to grow together is an incredible, powerful thing, and I'm going to encourage you. It will affect your friends and your family. Like
absolutely.
it will.
Yeah,
It will. I'm just telling you the truth, right? So,
yeah.
Michelle, anything else you want to throw in before we sign up?
Um, no, I don't think so. I just want to encourage everybody to share, to communicate. We're gonna, like I say, we're gonna have some topics that we're gonna predetermine. We're sort of thinking every week we'll do the check-in around the same time. We're thinking 30 minutes to an hour, depending on again who's interested. Maybe we'll just bring up our topics, discuss, and if we don't have a lot of interaction, they'll be a little bit shorter. But it's a good way for us to connect. And then we're going to I like to do a lot of things on my pages that keep people involved. So like you'll see a few days ago, I posted about like music to boost your mood. I'm going to keep adding to that thread just so if you're struggling, you can go and, look at music or different things. I might put things about let's do some daily gratitudes or like all those things are healthy habits that on the day to day between Wednesday at 8 and Wednesday at 8, where we can, just help get so I talk about vibrations a lot. So just get that positive energy and the vibrations high. to coast us through. But if you've got something going on Sunday morning at, you know, not a crazy early time, but Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, shoot us a message or post on there. And maybe Missy has the answer. Maybe, you know, I don't know. It's again, it's the power of the community. So reach out. Don't feel like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, I can't talk to anybody until Wednesday at 6 till they do the Zoom. Like we're here. So use the page as a resource.
Yeah. Yeah. And so if you haven't clued in, for those that are just meeting me for the first time, or those from the West Coast that are meeting Michelle for the first time, uh, these are my words. Michelle, you're allowed to change them.
Oh, I will.
Michelle is very organic, and she's very smart, but she's the organic thing. I uh, I think it's good for most of the time. I'm very focused and practical. Now, the thing we both do is we share our heart. We share, like, we're okay to be transparent and vulnerable, and we're not scared of that, right? So that'll be the journey. Missy asked about posting. She posted something on the page earlier this week. Feel free.
Yeah.
If something encourages you, feel free, or information.
Yeah.
The most important thing we want to do, I said at the beginning, and I think, like, you'll find out I rabbit trail. Michelle brings me back to the proper trail once in a while. But I just, my conviction is I want to be careful of projecting our, not our values, but like political and faith and these types of things. I think we're gonna have some great conversations, possibly about faith or energy or different. We want to be fearless, but we want to make sure we're not telling people that you have to be a Republican or a liberal or whatever.
Oh, we're not doing that.
That's not what we're gonna do. So
That's
if you
right.
post something like that, we'll probably private message you, say like I have no fear that everybody in the group is gonna be fine. Because anybody who's it doesn't fit, they're just not gonna stay, right?
That well, that's exactly right. And you know, at the end of the day, and I find this at like in my other job that like our focus is on the things that we can control. All of those are all things we can't control, so they have no place here, right?
Yeah,
Yep. So, you know, and really in our verbiage, which does matter so much. Yeah, there's just like you're frustrated. So say you are frustrated with politics. We don't need to know about the politics. You're frustrated. Let's see how we can work with that. Let's talk about some tips and some tools to deal with it. Let's, you know, Tom and I both know different strategies for, you know, turning that around and changing your focus and that sort of thing. So I don't feel, you know, there's a need for it at all. And I don't think we're gonna have to deal with any issues in
yeah.
the
And I just think, like, I again, I think it's important to uh, be just upfront and clear. And in this journey, we haven't done this type of thing before. This group is new, right?
yeah.
So we're going to journey together, and because we're admins of this group, we're just going to hold all of us to be respectful and kind to each other. That's kind of basically what it is, right? The
Yep.
other thing too, I'm going to throw this out. We might have talked about yesterday, Michelle. One of the things that I want to do, you can post a response to it. I'll probably do it tomorrow. I want to give you, I think, and I'll talk to Michelle about it, but I want to give you a bit of a heads up, saying, you know, next week on Wednesday, we're going to talk about,
Oh,
let's say,
sure.
social anxiety as an example. And so I'm going to give you the heads up. So we're talking about social anxiety. Then you guys can put on the wall, or and feel free to private message us, where, like, some things may end up being discussed privately. That's okay. But by having a topic, you guys may have, oh, well, what about this? Like this neurodivergence, NERO divergent. Go look it up and learn some new stuff. My 7-year-old son taught me new stuff. So part of it is we're going to start today, which we have, and then we're going to navigate as we go, and we may see what works and
Yep.
change some things. We're not scared to do that.
Yeah. Well, I
And
think,
we're going to share resources and tools, right?
yeah, and I think we'll always have, a couple topics because, and again, just open banter, like really what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it's whatever is going on in the moment. So maybe, you'll have something to add to it, or somebody knows a really good speaker on it that we could look up, or something like that. Maybe somebody's reading a book on it.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's something more pressing and we want to keep it simple. It's just wide open. I think that's sort of what I want to say.
So thank you for listening. For those that are listening live, for those that will listen later, we appreciate and we thank you for the time you take to listen to all of this or part of it.
Absolutely.
Again, feel free to invite people and friends that you think will benefit from talking about mental wellness.
Yep.
And thank you, sister, for your time and energy. It's good to see you.
Did you bring a closing quote?
Um, Nothing I can share. No.
I got one. Oh,
Hey,
well,
go
that's
ahead.
good because I got one. Okay, so I really like this one. It really resonated with me. Failure will never overtake me if my determination to succeed is strong enough. I'll post
Good
it on
quote.
the page. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have an incredible night. If you're in the East Coast, it's getting close to after 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
And
9:02.
it's only 6:02 here, so I've got the rest of the evening. So thank you so much. Feel free to ask us anything,
Yep.
share comments, stuff like that. We're looking forward to journeying with you guys together. Thank you.
Hey, before we go ahead. Bye, Tom.
Bye
Anyway,
bye.
before we go, friendly reminder how absolutely amazing all of you are. And I know that nothing is impossible. And I just like to remind you, you're all walking miracles. That's it. I'm out. That's all I got.
Thanks. See you guys.
All right. Bye, everybody. And bear with me because I got to figure out now. Let's see. How do I do